So I know this isn't my usual recording setup for reviews, but hey, we're doing it today. Insidious, The Red Door. So I reviewed all the Insidious movies on my channel already. You can go and watch those reviews. Um, I'd never seen them before. Watching this one though, I got very excited for all the movies, and I actually really enjoyed them, and I was really excited to see this one. So imagine my disappointment when I was bored out of my mind and hated this movie. I hated this movie. Hated it. Because it was just boring. And I was kind of excited about this movie for a couple reasons. First of all, I really enjoyed all the other Insidious movies. They were really good. And this was the conclusion to the franchise, so I wanted to see how it all would end. And also the father, I forget the actor director's name, ended up directing this one, so it made me excited for this movie for that reason alone. But this movie was not scary at all, which, to be fair, most of the Insidious movies aren't particularly movies that scare me, but this movie didn't even get the audience at all. You know, when you go see a horror movie that, um, you know, even though it's not really scary, the easily scared members of the audience will watch it and feel scared. None of them reacted. There was just dead silence in this theater. I don't think anyone actually really enjoyed the movie. It was just kind of whatever to them because it was really boring. Um, I like some of the direction, but also it's clear to me that this the dad from the first movie isn't really someone who should. No, I don't want to say should. Maybe he can refine his craft over time, but he isn't as strong as maybe he would like to think he is, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not trying to be hard on it because this is a directorial debut, and that's really cool, and I think that's awesome, and I want to support people doing that. But there's also like a level of like, it didn't turn out great. It was just really boring to me. I didn't think any of the acting was particularly strong, other than the dad, because he was really strong in the other movies that he was in. But in this movie in particular, it was some of his weaker acting, and that's probably because in the other movies he was more focused on acting. This one he's more focused on directing, and I think that's also like why you see the dad sidelined a lot in this movie, and it's mostly about the son. And I was actually compelled about the dad more and his plight, but you don't see a lot of that in this movie. And you see more of the son grown up, and he's painting this red door, and all this weird shit is going on. He's having visions. He's in college, and this girl he's into is trying to help him figure it out, and blah blah blah. You know, all that kind of stuff. And you're like, okay, well, like, I like that aspect of the movie, of like, the dad stuff, but we get his side of the story, and both these sides don't really connect till the very end, and the way they connect just kind of falls apart for me. It's like, I don't think the dad and the son actually come into the same room in this movie at all. Like, they're in this like dreamscape towards the end, mind, like demon door. I don't know how to explain what it is, but they kind of interact there, but for the most part, they never actually truly interact in this movie, and that's just disappointing. And there's a couple times over text, like the dad, and that's just unfortunate because one of the best through lines of the first movie was the dad trying to like get back his son. He's worried about what's going on with the son. In this movie, they're just so disconnected, and part of it is I get why it's happening because one's in college and things like that. But there's also just feels really bizarre. And the son's love interest character, I felt nothing for her. I didn't think the actress did a bad job. She was fine. She was very serviceable. Like, she didn't really give me anything to go, wow, that was a great performance. It was more just like, okay, you were here and you did a thing, I guess. And they clearly tried to make her at first seem like, oh, she's the more weird girl, bringing the other guy out of his element, but it didn't really matter or do anything. I don't know. It's just boring. This whole movie's just boring. And it didn't feel like the epic conclusion by the end to this franchise. The way this movie ended, yeah, it ended things, but it definitely did not feel like, wow, this is the epic conclusion to everything. And also, I felt like the son didn't have enough character. Okay, he's an artist. He likes art. Cool. They didn't really do much with that. What kind of art does he like? What does he like to do? Just sort of things like that. It's just there wasn't enough good scares. The characters were just very basic and very boring, and just you could just tell that even the audience wasn't reacting to this movie. I think on Rotten Tomatoes, I saw this thing at like a 29%. I don't usually pay attention to that. I was just on Fandango checking seats. Fandango has the Rotten Tomatoes score next to the movie, so I happened to see that, and I can see why, because this is not a very good movie. It is not a. It's not a it's not one of the worst horror movies you'll ever watch. It's a horror movie that you'll just watch, forget it ever happened, just because it's boring and has really nothing to offer, which is very unfortunate because I do really, really like this franchise, and I was excited to kind of see what our new director and style could bring to it. And I think also what disappointed me about this movie is it feels like every Insidious movie was doing something really cool in terms of this could feel like a very generic horror movie, but all those movies were able to bring something just enough to make it feel less generic, and this movie didn't really do that, and that's unfortunate. So let me know what you saw in Insidious the Red Door, if it was good or not. I did not give a shit about this one, unfortunately.